whatever. Have you done any slope combat? Because I know that's a thing.
Yeah,
I
oh,
guess
yeah,
just
yeah.
what do you can you tell us about that and then tell us your
Yeah,
thoughts on it?
I mean, it's amazing fun, but it's harder than you think to actually deliberately hit someone out of the sky.
We
Very
Yeah,
difficult.
yeah, I was gonna say
yeah.
it's. But we
It's only
do,
when you're thinking there's no way this is going to hit that guy is when
yeah,
that happens.
yeah.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Aviation RC New Podcast. My name is Joe.
And I'm Matt, and we're here with John Woodfield.
Hi there, everybody.
Hey, John. How you doing, man?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. It's I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good.
We're glad to have you. I appreciate you spending some time with us.
That's my.
So John does some really amazing slope soaring out in England. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm in the southwest of England, so in the county of Cornwall, in a little village called Perranporth. So it's just on the north coast of Cornwall. There, it's a lovely part of the world.
Yeah, it looks beautiful from one from your videos, and two, I've done kind of just a little search of, where are we in England and what does that look like? It looks like a beautiful little town. That it seems like you have a million wonderful days to go flying on your slopes there.
Yeah, it's not always perfect, but it's
No.
probably flyable maybe 50% of the time, I guess, when the wind's in the right direction.
Nice.
But generally, what I'll do is it probably looks like it's flyable more times than it's not, because on a good day, I can perhaps go out and, I only can fly a model for half an hour, then fly a different one, and I can make 6 or 7 or 8 videos just on one day. And then when I'm uploading those onto YouTube, I can space them out, and it. So if there are big long spells when it's not flyable, I can still upload my videos.
Yeah, that sounds it. But and that's what a lot of people have commented to me, and I've kind of had the same comment, like, holy cow, like that guy builds and flies like so much so quickly out in the world, and I'm like, I wonder, how that happens. So we'll ask you a little bit about that, but I know as we get into this, I think your wife Caroline might join us. She's the one who does a lot of the filming as you guys do this. I know. Do you wear a head cam as well as?
No. Just it's only just Caroline filming, and obviously she's very good at it now. And I've just sometimes I will be talking to her when I'm actually flying and just tell her what I'm going to be doing. So I'll be saying, I'm going to do a loop now, or I'm going to fly down low or fly out a bit further. So she just to give her a clue as to what's coming up. And I think that does obviously help her a lot with the filming and keeping the plane in the shot.
Yeah, great. And that was actually one of my questions for you guys was, how much communication do you do? Because I know when Joe and I go out, occasionally we get he's about a state away, which is about an hour and a half, 2-hour drive. So we're able to occasionally get together and fly, and sometimes we'll be doing the same kind of thing where it's like, hey, I'm gonna try to catch this, and we'll communicate as we do it.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the time she's been filming me for so long that she can just kind of look at the plane and tell what I'm about to do. So yeah, a lot of the time she almost second guessing what I'm doing, and I think she's just got so used to me flying, and I suppose my flying style and the kind of where I'm going to fly, and the kind of the extremities of where I fly, and kind of what kind of aerobatics I do.
Excellent. Well, good.
Well,
she does a good job. I'll tell you what. Because anyway, we'll get into it. Like I've had a lot of people reply to me, and I felt the same way. And I think I've heard an interview too, where you comment the same thing, where it's just the music you choose and the flying is slow and easy, where it's a very relaxing thing to do. It's almost like I don't know, just listening to kind of like at the end of the day, I need to calm down. I just need to kind of bring it down. And I was like, I'm going to watch one of these videos and, put it on for the 5 or 10 minutes or so and just relax.
Ah, thank you very much. Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
trying to find the appropriate music for the video is probably one of the hardest things to do, really, because you don't want to keep repeating the music that you've already used.
Hmm.
There's only so many bits of music you can download off YouTube,
Right.
as in free.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it?
What's the word I'm looking for?
Commercially
Yeah,
viable.
without
Yeah. All that.
without having to pay for.
Hmm. Yeah. It's I don't know. It's for me, it's a hobby. So I'm usually not making a ton of money off of that.
Yeah, but I was going to say, I mean, it's funny how the YouTube thing really came about, because it's not something that you said about making money. It's not something that I ever did to try and make money. And I was never like,
Right.
oh, I wish I had a YouTube channel or anything. It was just one of those generic kind of things that just happened, really. It was just
Right.
initially started out, I suppose, by, just flying models. And I've been flying all my life, but it's only really
Right.
since I moved to Perranporth, probably about 6 years ago, that I started recording the first flights and putting
Hmm.
videos on YouTube. But it's one
No.
of those real slow things to actually start, and it's not until you get just that one video that becomes really popular that the channel just all of a sudden takes
Right.
off, and kind of snowballed from there. But it does really add a certain something to the flying, because I find before, where you're just going out and you're having a fly just to fly a
It's just to
glider, or
goof around and be like, "Ooh, I'm out here. This is awesome." Yeah, when you're going like, "Okay, wait, I need to create content."
yes, yeah, absolutely. But it's also, I suppose, the way you're flying, because I suppose you're flying for the camera, and that's always very much in your mind. So you're thinking, I'm having to do a flyby now, or I'm just trying to do things that look good for the camera. So it's all about trying to pick, different camera angles. And because a lot of videos, they're all, I suppose it's just about a plane flying in the sky, and there's no background to it. So it's just somebody,
Right.
even if it was a gliding video, it's just somebody stood on a field or on a hillside and filming an airplane
Yeah.
flying around. And quite often it's like a little dot in the sky. Whereas, kind of, to
I'm
make the
guilty of
videos
that for
interesting,
sure.
yeah, they're trying to make the videos interesting is just thinking about, can we have the plane flying around the corner, or coming up from under the hill, or just trying to get it shooting like into the sun and getting good clouds behind it, or let's
Mhm.
fly down low and get the beach in the background, or let's get this in the background. And I'm thinking as much about where I'm flying the plane, because what I'm doing, and I'm sure when people are watching the video, maybe they don't even realise that I am kind of doing that. But I suppose it's all about
Yeah.
just trying to make the video and all the videos as different as they can be, I guess.
Right. D
But yeah, and I do fly from other sites as well occasionally,
Okay.
because I'm kind of, I suppose, aware that flying at that one site, the footage is always normally the same. Although lighting does
Yeah.
change throughout the day. In the morning, you're very much backlit, and then in the evening, you're looking kind of into the sun and flying, which all looks different on the videos. But
Mhm.
I guess I fly. So the only reason I really go to different sites is if I have built a new airplane, and when it's
Okay.
like the wind's in the wrong direction, and you're really keen to try it out, and it's
Yeah.
looking like
Yeah, you're like,
yeah,
"Okay, I can't go to
yeah,
that site
yeah, let's
because the
drive.
wind's." Yeah.
Yeah, so let's drive to somewhere else. But if I haven't got anything new to try, and you're not that keen, not that excited about flying something, then I'll just wait till the weather comes right and just go up to my normal site, just because it's so much easier than use the car and drive somewhere. It's really nice having the flying site right on your doorstep as well, because it means you can actually build slightly different airplanes as well, because a lot of people have that thing whereby I can't build an airplane that big without building the wing in two bits or the fuselage in two parts so it will fit in my car. Whereas I
Right.
don't need to do that, because I can just carry it up in one bit. It doesn't really
You can
matter.
literally walk it out. That's so
Yeah,
awesome. Well, speaking of that, why don't we just talk? So Joe and I just recorded the previous podcast only a couple days ago. There's not a whole lot of news of what we've been up to in the last couple weeks. I think I shared with you earlier that the only thing that's probably different for me is I started covering the Clurican, or which is the leprechaun made out of Dollar Tree foam board, like
yeah,
almost entirely out of Dollar Tree foam board. So it's like that was more like a materials structural challenge. because knowing that this thing's going to have some pretty big loads as its size, I wanted to see like can I pull it off. And the only thing I have carbon fiber rods joining the two wings. It's not really a moment capacity thing at all. It's really just kind of making sure that they're together and that they don't come off the plane.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, so I've worked on that, and I've actually experimented with Saran wrap. Do you have like the press and seal Saran wrap? It's almost like a tacky glue, like a pressure adhesive, on a Saran wrap.
Yeah, it's not something I've ever heard of, to be honest. It's
okay.
I guess you can get it over here, but I've never heard of it.
Okay. Yeah. Again, it's one of those things. I don't know if it just rolls out in America.
Don't feel bad. I hadn't either.
Well, I had because I think somebody purchased it because it's great. Like you have leftovers, you put it over your thing, you just kind of press the edges, and now you got it sealed up, and you can put it in the fridge.
All right,
and that's its original purpose. But I'm like, wait a second, that's a film with an adhesive on the back. I'm like, why don't we cover planes? And so because the Clurican is so big, because the Leprechaun is just this giant plane, and to keep the balance, you want to have the back half as light as possible. I cut out ellipse holes in the back half of the wing and the whole back of the fuse. But for aerodynamic purposes, I need to cover that. I need to make it so it's one smooth surface. And I was thinking, I'm like, or Terra, I'm trying to think of all the Ultra Coat and Monocoat and all that stuff. Like those coatings are what, $25, a 15-foot roll, right? Somewhere around there. At least that's what it is in the States here. And I'm like, Saran wrap's $5 for way more. Like it's a foot wide. It's not 2 feet wide, but you 200 just knock something down. 200 feet
Good
long.
job.
You can cover a lot of surface that way.
All right. So is it completely clear and quite very, very thin?
It's a kind of a frosted window look. Because the glue, I guess, creates a texture enough where it's not.
When you iron it, it goes completely clear. Is that right?
It hasn't, and I'm wondering if there's a small texture to the film so that the glue grabs onto it and doesn't slide off. Because I know Saran wrap, that's what you usually put down on your balsa surface, right? When you're building balsa, because you don't want the glue to adhere to the surface. You use Saran wrap. A lot of people do. Well, this is effectively a Saran wrap with almost like a scuffed up surface, so that the glue holds. It seems
right.
So anyway. But the other thing about the press and seals that you press, but later you want to eat, so you gotta pull stuff off, right? So it sticks on good, but it does pull off, and so I'm like, well, how can I make sure that it doesn't come off right on the model? So I sprayed Super 77 on the foam. I did a very careful, smooth lay down as best I could, and then I did use an iron on a very, very low heat setting. It's like even before it gets to any of the because it's super thin film. It's almost like those the plastic bags that you have at the grocery stores. They're like crazy thin. So this is kind of on that order. So it's like very low heat, but it's enough to kind of just start to like loosen and tighten it a little bit. And it also activates the adhesive well. So it sticks down really well. Once you put the Super 77 on your model first and then lay it down.
Yeah, because I think it's what we call cling film, but the other thing I have used is actually a window laminating film, which is what I was saying about when you iron it. So it's I'd have to get you a product name, but again, that's only like a foot wide, but comes in massively
long rolls
and costs virtually nothing. And it's a bit. It's a bit.
Is it the kind where you take a heat gun or like a hair dryer? I think is what they recommend. Take a hair dryer and you just do that, and then it like shrinks and comes into like a clear tight film.
Yes, yeah. But it has got a glue already on it, so it's a bit like a normal aircraft covering film. So you can put it on with an iron and then just heat it on.
What's the name of the product?
I will have to let you know, but I just
always.
Yeah, I was going to say I've always just known it as window laminating film.
Yeah. Me too, but I'm
but you can put straight onto Depron as well, because I have done that before just to seal the Depron, the Depron foam, like a foam board type thing.
Okay.
I've covered balls. It doesn't shrink as much as a normal modelling film does, so you can't go around a compound curve. So if you're going like a rounded wingtip or something like that, you couldn't, or a rounded nose section, you couldn't do it.
Yeah, but it's not going to completely wrap all the way around.
Yeah,
it's going to get part of the way there.
Yes, but if you're just doing like flat sheets, as in just a 2-dimensional curve, then it's absolutely it's brilliant stuff, and like I say, it costs virtually nothing. So yeah, that's one I've tried, which is always really good.
Awesome. Well, and that's the thing is, and part of what we want to do is we want to, like, our goal is to help people get into the hobby. And I know when you get into the hobby, the last thing you want to do is throw a lot of money down on the table and just hope, right? So you can either put in low, like if you can buy this film for super cheap, and here's a method where in $15 you've got a plane in another. Once you have a transmitter for another couple bucks, you have the servos you need. Like, you can get in the air for almost nothing, which is a great way to try the hobby. It's like, let's see if you like it. It's not for everybody, but I think it's amazing. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, window laminate foam. That's a great idea. I didn't think so. I'm experimenting with that, and I'm using it on the side of the fuse, the press and seal saran wrap, and then I've also taken the traditional Oracoat and put that over top of the foam because I wasn't sure how strong it pulls when it when it heats up, and I didn't want to destroy the plane trying to heat it up. All of a sudden the whole wing curls up. Like, that's not what I wanted. So I tried the traditional stuff, and that actually works really well. It gets tight as a drum. The film is thick enough that it's a lot smoother than the saran wrap. So it'll probably end up having better, wind or drag performance. And then the other thing I've been working on is basically like a scaled up, 60-inch model of a Puri, which is a small balsa model, kind of designed as a micro wing. And it almost looks like if you were to take two of those helicopter things and glued them together and made an airplane out of it. So I just like the shape. It's just really pleasing to the eye. So I'm halfway through putting that together because I couldn't focus on one thing at any given moment. But so I've been working on those in the last actual couple of days and making some headway on some of that. But the other half has just been pure exhaustion. Joe, have you been able to get anything done?
I edited the podcast.
That is a lot of stuff. So thank you.
Well, you did too. So good job on you.
Yeah. I happen to be working from home where I could have both computers rolling at the same time, and it's just a matter of listening. Mm-hmm. What about you, John? What have you been up to? I'm sorry, John.
That's all right. I'm building a scale model at the moment, which is something a bit different for me because I don't normally build scale gliders. I'm normally building, I suppose, predominantly kind of lightweight, real floaty kind of stuff. That's just the kind of flying that I generally do. But I'm lucky in that my dad also flies. He's
nice
now, but he flies much now. He quite often just cuts out parts for me. He will go online and download a free plan, and then he will cut out the balsa wood parts for me. So he cut parts out for me for a glider called an SZD6, and he probably cut them out probably 10 years ago, and I've only just got around to building it. So so it's an unusual design because it was an experimental Polish glider. I'm not sure what year from. Must be the 1950s, I guess. But it's almost just like a flying wing with the pilot sitting in the center of the wing and just a rudder on the back. So it's a 5th scale glider. It's an all balsa wood build, so a very traditional build with elevons on the back of the wing and flaps and like split ailerons. And a rudder, so it's got a lot of servos in it. So it's got 7 servos because it's got a servos and 2 flap servos. So quite a complicated setup. And it's come out at just over 100-inch, 102-inch. So what's that? Just over 5 foot, 6 foot, is it?
No, 102 inch is a
9 foot-ish.
8
9 foot, yeah.
8.5 foot ish.
It's a decent size. Haven't weighed it or anything yet, but it's gone together quite quickly. So it's probably not far off being flyable. It's just looking at the weather forecast in 2 days' time. So if I can get it finished tomorrow, I'll probably fly it the next day. So,
Okay.
but yeah, so all the balsa wood's done, all the build, and I'm just started covering it a bit this morning. So if I can then cover it, and then it'll just be a matter of balancing it and hooking up the servos, and hopefully we'll have a flyable plane.
Okay. Yeah. Now, did I hear you right? Did you just say that you were using the ribs as foam, or is this one the ribs are balsa?
Yeah, this one is an all balsa build, just purely because my dad had cut out all the bits.
Because he'd already cut it.
Yeah, so
when balsa was king back in 10 years ago.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, I am utilising like foam more and more of my builds now, mostly just for the actual ribs. So the first one I did was a delta. So I built a big, I say biggish, quite big green delta. I can't even remember what it's called. I think I just called.
Yeah, you'll see it. I mean, if you're looking at your videos,
on one of my videos, center ribs in it are probably yeah. So the center ribs are probably 24 inches long. So it's good to actually use foam for those instead of balsa.
Because you'd have a 14 balsa in that.
Yeah, so much cheaper building it out of foam, and it just kind of creates the general shape of the build, and then all the strength of the leading edges and everything all comes from balsa ore. I'm putting hardwood spars in there and utilising a bit of carbon, and just kind of did a bit of everything really.
Now, did you also cap the ribs in balsa?
Yes, yeah. So I'll start off with, I suppose, the foam in the centre. And then use hardwood spars going out to the tips.
Right, and then so that'll be like the leading edge and the top and the bottom of the spar will have one.
Leading edge, and then capped in balsa. And that means that when you come to cover it, you don't have to worry about melting the foam or anything like that with a heating iron.
That's a really good idea. You just opened up my world. So what do you use? What glue do you use to adhere the balsa down to the foam?
Well, mostly just PVA, so white wood glue.
Okay.
Which it takes a little bit longer to actually build because it sticks really well once it's done. And I don't know if you've ever used it, but it's
I have. Yeah.
It's just generally what I use on my kind of all balsa builds, and it does stick to the foam really well as well. But
it just takes a little bit longer to dry.
Yeah. Because if not, because obviously you can buy like foam safe super glues, but I've never found that they're very good.
Yeah.
But then there's that just trying to think of the name of the brand now, where there is actually a Depron glue, isn't there, that sticks to balsa as well. So
it's like a UHU pour or
that's right. UHU
foam
pour.
tack.
Yeah, so I've used that as well, but my favourite is still wood glue, really, even though it does take that little bit longer to build with.
Okay. Great. No, that's awesome. Like, so we're just getting into the, I'm still have a couple balsa kits. I'm just about to sit down and start with. So balsa is new to me, right? Yep. So I'm constantly curious, how are we going to do that? And how about that? But my original love is foam only because it's accessible and cheap, right?
Yes,
it's I can go down to the store and have a plane ready and flying in 3 hours.
Yes, I mean everybody's got their own thing, and I've got a friend of mine who's he's got a website called Park Jets RC, and he builds fighter jets out of foam, and he's a brilliant designer, and he must have probably 40-50 models of JetWorks RC. That's it. If you type that in.
Oh, JetWorks. Okay.
Yeah.
I see Park Jets, semi-scale Park Jets at JetWorks.
Yeah.
But online.
But he won't build in anything but foam, and he's a real foam diehard.
Yeah.
But the thing is I suppose the great thing about utilising different materials is they've all got their own advantages and disadvantages. Whereas when you buy a foam sheet, they're, like you say, they're very cheap. But they're also very uniform, aren't they? That every foam sheet you're going to get is exactly the same. Whereas with balsa wood, you very much every sheet of balsa you get is different. So
there's different grades, right? There's a light, a dense, and a medium.
Yeah, so you can, if you buy a dense balsa, it can be anything up to 4 times as heavy as a lightweight piece of balsa. So it's very much about kind of finding the right bit of balsa wood for the right bit of build that you're doing. Using the hard balsa wood for leading edges and around the nose, and using the lightweight stuff down the tail and things like that. And it's also very unidirectional, isn't it? So you've got the grain in it. So
it doesn't matter what way you're cutting.
So you can bend it in certain directions, but it's got great strength in other directions. So I'm very much although I would generally build in balsa, I'm not averse to building in anything really, and I quite often build hot wire cut foam wings and cover those with a beachy veneer and build that way, or have built models completely from Depron in the past.
Okay. Do when you do the hot wire cutting, do you have like a bow that you made, or is it like do you have a CNC machine? I know some people get all fancy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, funny enough, my dad has got a massive CNC machine at home.
Did he build that himself?
He got it secondhand off eBay.
Okay.
But I don't think he's ever used it. It was so big that I think he took it apart and put it up in the shed, and it's never come out since. But yeah, when I've done it, I've just done it with a wire bow. So I just made a bow up and just a tensioner on the top, just out of a piece of string. Very, very simply done. With a small bit of current and
okay.
What have you. But a lot of the time as well, people know a lot because I got lots of friends that model and things, and I like to kind of design and do my own kind of models, and sometimes I would take old foam wings off a crash model that's say got foam veneer wings already, and just turn it, just turn it into something completely different. So quite often, if a friend has crashed a model or something like that, they're like, "Oh, John, I don't know what to do with this," and I get quite a lot of things just donated to me, really. And
here, I crashed this. The wings are good.
Yeah. Do something with that. And it's
that's funny. Awesome. So you're working on this SZD6, I guess 6X or something along those lines. Well, good. So are you? Is that? Do you kind of work on one model at a time, or do you have a couple going?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's always just one model at a time. And I know when you go on these Facebook forums, you see people that have got 5, 10, 15, 20 models that they're building, and I can see why people do it, because it's. I think a lot of people, if they get stuck on one bit of the model, or they're waiting for a survey to come or whatever it is, they can go off and do something else. Whereas once I start something, I find that if I just have to go all out at it and just get it finished, because I'm always so keen to just kind of get the model done and see what it's like and see how it flies. And I know that if I put that model one side, I find it very pick it up and get back into it. So I'm very much a one model at a time, and I just go all out at it. Once I start, I build quite quick. And I think it helps just having one model that you're doing, because you're kind of just thinking about that whole model the whole time. So I may kind of wake up in the morning, do a bit on the model, and then if we go off and play tennis or go surfing or go off for a walk or something, then you come back to the model and you're refreshed. So little and often, I think, is what I'm saying. And if I'll just do half an hour building here and go off and do something else, another quick half an hour, and before you know it, the model's finished, really.
Okay, yeah. It's definitely one good way to get it done. I know that's I guess part of why, if I'm building, I get certain amounts of like chunks of time to do it. And then if I get snagged on one, I still have that time to build.
Yes.
And it's like, well, I'm not really going to do anything else. I mean, I guess I could watch TV, I suppose, but it's like, well, I'd still like to build. So, well, let me work on this other project over here. It's like, I'm snagged on this. My brain has got to roll around how I want to tackle that. So I'll move over to the next.
Yeah.
I guess as part of, plus maybe I'm just, I can't focus. So.
Yeah, I think you're I think I'm the exception to the rule, really. I think most people have got more than one project or think at one time.
Well, I envy your ability to keep tucked to one project. It's it seems to be a difficult task, for sure. So anyway, well, good. So let's see here. We've kind of covered half of the interview questions I had already, but I guess let's see. Well, why don't we go back a little bit about history? I think you talked about how your dad, obviously, he's an RC modeler. Is he the one who kind of got you started in this whole thing? And do you remember your first model?
Yeah, I mean, I remember going on holiday when I was probably, like I say, about 10 years old, and my dad having models that he had built. He was a teenager. So my dad had. But I suppose it's very hard to say what my very first model was, because Dad used to build a lot of models for me and my brother, like power models and gliders. But I suppose probably the first model that I built all by myself once I'd left home was the Carl Goldberg Gentle Lady glider.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But at the time, I just left home and I couldn't really afford the radio gear or servos or anything for it, so I built the glider and I never flew it. And I suppose I didn't, after leaving home, probably then didn't fly models for a long time. I suppose, girls and other things get in the way, don't they, in cars and other things that come up. And
fumes disease, we call it.
Yeah. I work with the Scouts a lot, and we say, we got to get your kids close to Eagle before they get fumes disease. Yep. And that's perfumes and car fumes.
Oh, yeah. So I was in the Scout. Cubs and Scouts, and then Venture Scouts, as we called it. I guess that's.
Yep. Yeah, that's the same. We have the same thing going on over here too.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I was going to say, as a kid, I was always not only radio control models. I remember me and my brother were always building, little wind-up planes, elastic band power planes, and we had Jet X planes. I don't know if you remember those. So it was almost like a tiny little firework in the back of the airplane. So you had a little capsule in it with a little fuse, and you'd light it, and it would just also like a tiny little jet engine in the back of the plane.
Right.
So we used to fly those, and we also had the old CO2 powered planes. So like a tiny internal combustion engine with a CO2 canister on it that would power it.
Okay. I've seen some of the, I've rolled around on Aerofred and Outer Zone and all them, and you see some of the older ones where you're like, oh, what in the world is this going on? And you're like, oh wait, that's a mini rocket engine or a mini CO2 cartridge you're supposed to put in there, and it's just like there's this whole mechanism to cap it and start it, and then you just
that's right,
just launch and go.
And then we also used to fly a bit of control line when we were kids. Which I think you call, is it U-Control or whatever?
Yeah, we call it control line too, yeah.
Oh, it's control line too, yeah.
That looks great. I don't know why it looks harder. It just looks harder. Like, you're flying close to the ground. That's when all the accidents happen.
Yeah, I don't know why people still do it. I suppose it's that nostalgia thing, isn't it? Because I suppose people were doing it when there wasn't radio control. That was the whole idea, wasn't it? And
right.
So it's hard to say what my first model was, I suppose. Like I say, I built that Gentle Lady and never flew it. And for quite a high fly. So there's a President Models high fly. That's another glider.
Okay.
It was an early one I had, which was again another balsa build. And then around probably the same time, I had a Zaggy, which is like a little phone combat model.
Yeah.
And then, so I had kind of a few models, and then again, I kind of had another break. And it wasn't until a friend of mine, probably in about the year 2000, started getting into model airplanes.
Okay.
And he knew that I used to fly back in the day, and he was like, "Oh, John, can you help me out with flying?" And I guess ever since then, I've been just going at it full bore, I guess. And
right.
I was trying to count up how many models I've made, and I was going back through old photographs and what have you. And it's impossible to count up, exactly, because there's some that you haven't taken photographs of. But
right.
I reckon it must be getting close to 500, 550 models that I've made now over my lifetime.
Gosh.
Yeah.
500 models.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe it.
Pick it up.
I believe it.
Yeah.
But wow. So is your process, you build it, you fly it for a certain amount of time, and then it either gets a little bit of damage, or you're just like, I want to build something new and I need space. Do you give them away? Do you dismantle them? How do you do that?
Yeah, I was going to say, all of those. It depends. Because a lot of, I suppose you always big things. I will sell them, so I'll just put them on eBay and get rid of them that way. So I've got a friend of mine that will always, but if I put something up for sale, he will always just come and buy. He'll come happily, and he'll just nose around the garage, and I'll just give him prices, and he'll buy 5 or 6 models in one go, kind of thing, and that just clears out space. But generally,
Yeah.
I'll take the receiver and what have you out. So I've got that to put in another model.
Right.
Then other models, I just give away if I've got friends who, just starting out in the hobby or things like that, and they just need a helping hand, then I'll happily, give friends models. Or if I've got friends that, even friends that are not starting up, and I just don't want a model and don't want the hassle of selling it, I just quite often give models away.
Hey, I'm a friend
The
that's
models that don't-
starting up.
Yeah.
Yes, you are, Joe.
Yeah. Models that don't fly that well, and I fly them once and think I really don't like it. So sometimes I will just then take all the servos out and just stamp on it or put it through the bandsaw and just think, that's never going to fly again. So, and then the models that I really like and I just fly and they start to get tatty. So sometimes I'll take all the covering off and recover them to make them fly a little bit longer. But even then, they're not going to, I know that no model lasts forever. And so then they've just had their time, really. So a bit of everything, really.
So you said that there are some models that you really enjoy. Do you remember, can you list a couple that you'd, obviously to me, those ones that you love are the ones that you want to recommend to other people. What would those be? Like, what are the ones that you've thoroughly enjoyed?
Yeah, I think all my favorite models, because there's all different types of slope soaring and slope soaring models, just like there are in powered aircraft. But I very much like the real slow flying, lightweight, old time kind of models. And I think on my kind of YouTube channel, that's I guess what I'm known for a bit.
Yeah.
And not only do I like flying those kind of really slow, lightweight models, they're actually a lot easier to film because they do fly a lot slower and they just kind of float around the sky and make nice videos. But I think I enjoy flying those models mostly because the faster kind of slope soaring that you do, so if you've got an aerobatic model that you're flying on a windy day, you don't get such a good video because it tends to be flying a lot faster and a small dot in the sky. But I
imagine you kind of have to zoom out to catch the quick movement.
Absolutely. But I also find that the flying is almost too easy. I know that sounds like a contradiction in terms, but when the wind's really blowing and you can just go loop, loop, roll, roll, and you can just do endless aerobatics, it's kind of almost too easy. Whereas when you're flying the vintage stuff, there's a certain skill to flying it smoothly and eking out the lift when there's not much lift on the slope and doing those lovely low passes across the slope. And it's kind of relaxing, but it's also challenging as well, if that makes sense. So it's challenging to fly it smoothly and it's challenging to find the lift. So to me, that's kind of what. So going back to your original question, what are your favourite models? I think all my favourite models tend to be those really lightweight kind of old timer designs. And the other thing about those, when I said about the video, not only are they flying slower, but I suppose they're quite big, and also the fuselages and everything are quite fat, which makes them stand out and it makes them easier to film. Because the modern gliders tend to have really like pencil thin fuselages, which so they go head on and they almost disappear. So some of my, I know you're building the Leprechaun, but the Leprechaun's always been a favourite of mine, and I guess that's because that's one of the first models that I built that got my YouTube channel. That was one of the first videos that kind of went a bit viral and got me lots of subscribers.
Yeah.
And then I suppose the Ocean Breeze, I don't know if you've seen that one. That's another favourite of mine. And that's purely because that was one of my own designs. And I kind of designed that from, I suppose I was taking elements of all my other models that I liked and I was trying to build like the ultimate model for me.
Right. And see how it flew, right?
Yeah. And just seeing, so I wanted to combine so I knew exactly how I wanted it to fly and tried to build a model that would fly exactly how I wanted it. But I also wanted like an easy model to build and that was fairly quick to build, but easy to transport. And I don't like, because a model has to look good, but there's other things about a model as well that make it usable, aren't there? I mean, the thing is when you're building a big scale model like I'm building at the moment, when you actually get to the slope, it's actually quite a faff to get it flying because you need to plug the wings in and make sure everything's working correctly and plug all the servos in. And there's actually quite a lot of
I've watched
And I know
guys
a lot of
go to
people
the
like,
field with
yeah,
I've watched people go to the field with like a biplane, and they spend
yeah, an
it
hour.
feels
They
like
get,
almost an hour setting the thing up, and then they fly around for 5 minutes,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
they
I'm
come back down
opposite.
and like, okay, that was it, and then they start
Yeah,
dismantling. I'm like,
yeah. Because my Ocean Breeze, I know I can just go there, get to the slope, I pop a battery in the nose, and throw it off, and within about 30 seconds you're flying,
right,
and I really like that. And I suppose I never actually fly for that long anyway. It's because I suppose Caroline, when she's filming, she gets bored after 20 minutes or so. So I would
sure,
generally walk up to the slope, I'll fly for 20 minutes, I'll maybe fly a couple of planes in that time, and then I go home and do something else. Because
yeah,
I know a lot of guys that go slope soaring. They will go there because they've had to drive there, and it's a whole day's kind of
yeah.
adventure for them. So, but they spend a lot of time, with the models out, just chatting about the models and all that kind of thing. Whereas, yeah, to me, it's more about just I suppose, a quick fly and back home again. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I've seen the same thing too. Like I've got kids, so I've got a limited time out at the field when they're with
Yeah.
me. They get bored. They're just like, "What are we going to do now, Dad?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"I don't know. Use your imagination. I'm still flying this model. Please give me a minute." But yeah, and there's days where it's like, no, it took me a while to get here. Like especially when I go to visit Joe, like we try to make a whole day of it because
Yeah,
it's
for
a while to
sure.
get there, and ultimately I just enjoy spending time with Joe. But
Mhm.
if we're there to do some flying, we want to try to spend as much of it flying as we can.
Mm.
So yeah, let's see. I've so many things you've mentioned. I'm like, okay, I want to ask about it. So you would say, let's see, what models would you recommend if you were a beginner slope soarer?
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's very much two trains of thought here. And I guess a lot of it boils down to whether you actually want to build your own model from scratch, or whether
Mm-hmm.
you just do, buy something that's ready made and just throw it off a hillside.
Right.
Um, and also, I guess it depends on what kind of slope you're flying from, because I know earlier I mentioned like the zaggy type, so
Yeah.
the combat wings. If you've got a little
How
bit of
how
flying,
big how big are the Zaggies? Because
so
they're no longer officially in production, and you have to go in RC groups to an older form to be able to really get information
yeah,
about what a Zaggy is.
yeah.
But what
Um,
what are we looking at?
So it's a 48 inch, so generally a 48-inch wingspan. So it's a 48-inch flying wing. But there's all kinds of what they call these combat wings that are made out of
Sure.
foam. And they're great for beginners in that they are completely indestructible. You'll be pretty hard pressed to actually break one. You can fly at full
Hmm.
speed into a rock, and you won't break it. It will just
Right.
bounce off.
Yeah, because I
Um,
think the originals were made out of EPP foam, right?
Yeah, I think the original Saggies were a white foam body, but they had an EPP leading edge, and the only
Okay.
place they're ever going to crash it is on the leading edge because they've got no fuselage to it. It is just a flying wing.
Right.
But I had a Zaggy that I had for probably 30 years, and I never ever broke it. But it was a great go-to model because if you're flying from a slope, there's a bit, there's rocks or,
Hmm.
it's a
There's
vertical.
things growing on that slope that you don't want to
Yeah,
get
and then
into.
you don't need to worry or if you're going to go and try another model and you're not sure what the conditions are like, you can throw something like that off, and you don't need to worry about if you are going to crash it. So any of those kind of combat wings are brilliant for beginners, but they're not the easiest thing to fly. That's the trouble. So you need to almost go on a simulator, I guess, is the best way to do it, and get
Hmm.
a bit of stick time just practicing flying. And they do need a bit of breeze. They probably need 10 mile an hour up, but they will fly anything up to maybe 30 mile an hour of wind with a bit of ballast on.
Okay.
So they're great beginners models in the sense that they are indestructible, but you couldn't just build one and go and fly it with no experience at all. You would need to do some time on a
Okay.
simulator or have someone show you what to do.
Are there
But
simulators that you typically go to for slope soaring?
yeah, so Pika Sim is a really good one for gliding, because that's just a free download. I know on a lot of things, and it is very
Hmm.
realistic. The graphics are not brilliant, but the
No.
actual physics of it are very good, and it's got flying wings and things like that on. Yeah,
Hmm.
but going back to what's a good model, so I'd either recommend something like that to get going, or um, if you want to build a model from scratch, something like a Gentle Lady, if you can still find a kit, or you want to build from,
they're still out there.
Yeah, obviously, if you need a bit of experience in building to actually build it in the first place, but when you've actually built it will fly hands off, so it is very stable. You can launch it into a gentle wind, and you're more, if you think of it more just as guiding it around the sky, so it will fly itself, and you, as long as it's balanced and everything correctly, you can just do small movements, and it's a very, very forgiving airplane. But if you do get it wrong, you are going to break it. That's the difference.
Right, of course. That goes with I think every balsa model period, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. But then to be honest, I don't know too many. I suppose because I don't generally tend to just buy a foam model, because I do tend to build stuff. So I know there are lots of great beginner foam, not combat models, but generally just gliders. Things like the Radian, Park Zone Radian, and models like that are obviously great beginners models. And they've got power on the nose, so if conditions are a bit marginal, you can still get lift. You're not totally reliant on the slope. So
you can still get some elevation to give yourself room to try.
You've got get out clause, haven't you? So it's okay. But I think that's the kind of question, isn't it? If you ask 100 different people what's the best model to start with, you'll probably get 100 different answers. Everyone's got their own opinion, and I suppose everybody kind of got a certain affinity to models that they've flown, really, and it's hard to comment on a model you haven't flown. So it's,
well, you've flown over 500.
Yes.
So I mean, you're a great person to ask about that, because you have a lot more experience doing this specific thing, as well as, I mean, so I was looking at some of your history coming up to an article that was written a little while back about that you used to live on, what you said, a houseboat, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I had an old World War II RAF Air Sea rescue boat. So saw service in the Second World War, and it was it's moored up in a place called Hamble, which is near Southampton on the south coast. So it's really cool. We still had the machine gun turrets on the top and all that kind of stuff, and so it still looked like a military boat. Nice. So I would go. It's a bit off subject, but I used to have a lot of model boats at the time. So I had a bathing platform on the back, so I could use the model boats straight off the back of and I used to build those from scratch as well. But also seaplanes. So I used to build a lot of seaplanes and flying boats, and just fly those in the creek straight off the back of the boat. So
what did you do? So that we've talked a little bit about boats, and we don't live near any appreciable lakes, so we always just wait for a big rain, and we fly it off of a puddle and land it on that same puddle. So what have you used that was successful as far as build materials to make sure it's waterproof and things like that? Were they mostly balsa models, or were they like a Depron foam kind of deal?
Yeah, again, it was a bit of both. I think mostly balsa when I was flying. Because once you've actually covered them, and I generally tended to put like a waterproofing sand and seal on the balsa, and then cover it. But it was where I was flying was a really harsh environment for the aircraft.
Okay.
Because it was like brackish water, so it was almost a bit salty. So
yeah, that's not kind to electronics at all.
So any spray that you got on the motor and stuff, it would just tend to kill things really quickly. But it was fun doing it. It's,
okay. Yeah, and that's what we've talked about when we talked about like how to waterproof your stuff. It's like, well, in regular water, this is what you need, but if you're going out into salt water, good luck. Technically there's some things that can help it, but you always want to make sure if you do bring it out to salt water, rinse it after and then dry it thoroughly.
Yes,
because the salt water will destroy your electronics very
quickly.
Yeah. And you said that thing was near an old abandoned airfield. It's kind of where you were living, right?
Yeah.
Can you describe that kind of conditions? Because you would imagine that'd be ideal, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, so the old airfield, I mean, it didn't have an airstrip on it, so it was kind of quite rough ground, but it was a massive area of just scrubland, I guess you would call it. But there was enough space to take off and land, so I used to fly powered aircraft from there. But I think if you go back onto my YouTube channel and look at some of my very early videos, there's video of me flying from that airfield. I've got like the GoPro on the aircraft, so you can and I think I've got some flying around by the boat actually, and doing like
I,
low passes over by the boat and stuff like that. So
yeah, I saw that.
yeah, it's a great place to fly.
Cool.
But yeah, I was going to say I'm
Would-
very lucky where I am here. Not only because I've got, if you're just into RC stuff generally, because I've got the cliffs for flying off.
Mhm.
But I can see out my bedroom window here, where there's a little model boating lake actually in the village itself. So I can use model boats there, and I've kind of build sailboats and power boats. But I've also got quite a lot of model cars as well. And all the cliffs have got like rocky outcrops and things. So it's great for rock crawling and doing all that kind of stuff as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
RC heavy. Yeah. But yeah, it's mostly about the planes. I was going to say 99% of the stuff I do is all about planes.
Well, I imagine, part of what part of the whole thing is like it's about coming up with a new challenge, right? As relaxing as flying could be, at a certain point you're like, well, I'm just flying a plane. And sometimes you're going because it's relaxing, right? And there's other times you're like, I need a challenge. Like how was imagine that one plane that you said you designed and built yourself because you wanted to kind of put all the characteristics you love into one plane. How successful was that in accomplishing that goal?
Yeah, I think 100% really, because
good.
I mean, it's not the first plane I've ever designed, because I don't know, I reckon probably 20% of the planes that I kind of build are scratch built and kind of my own designs. But where I'm not, generally my own designs tend to kind of be made up on the hoof, if that sense. So I would, like I was earlier, I was talking about maybe getting a set of foam wings or something like that. And I think what I can kind of almost see it in my mind what those wings would make into. So I think, let's build this. But to actually sit down and draw something from scratch, I would find very difficult. But the Ocean Breezes, I actually tried to do that. So it's the only plane where I've actually drawn plans up before the build. Whereas generally the builds just tend to evolve. And then, because a lot of time people say, I'd love plans for this or love plans for that. And I was like, well, I can't, it's very hard. It's not going to happen.
I don't have those. Yeah. So how was that process? Did you like that? Did you like that process better? I tend to design it first because I find that the build goes quick and simple.
Yeah.
If I don't do it ahead of time.
Where I haven't got too many computer skills, but in a past life, I used to do vinyl graphics. So I'd, do sign writing, but that was sign writing for boats and yachts and things like that. So I've always had a sign cutter here. So I've got my own vinyl cutter here. So I did the design on my vinyl cutting program, which is not ideal. And I then had to get a friend to then convert that into like a usable plan that other people could use.
Yeah.
So it was quite a lengthy process, because I'm used to kind of building a plane in like 3 or 4 days, whereas it took me 3 or 4 days just to draw the plan up on that one. But it's nice now that other people can build it, and where quite a few of my friends have built it, and now we've got like 4 or 5 of them that we can fly together. It's just really satisfying, knowing that other people have built one of your designs. I guess it's it's
pretty cool. Definitely a pretty cool experience. We did have a question kind of on the have you heard of Angel Wing Designs?
Yes.
And we have a friend, his name is Apis on our forums. He's a bee lover, and he's wondering if you had flown the mini bee.
Yes and no. I've made my own mini bee, and that is why Angel Wings built their mini bee. So I've not actually built the Angel Wings design one, but I do. I have built a few of the Angel Wing design kits, but not actually that big. But I have built and I'm not sure what size it is in relation to the Angel Wings Designs kit, but I think the one that I built was very, very similar. But it's like anything. They're generally, the bigger they are, they fly. So the small models are okay. And they are obviously very cheap to build, and they're quick to build, and they hardly use any materials. And they're obviously easy to store and transport and things like that. But quite often when you're actually flying them, there's no substitute for size. And generally, the bigger they are, the
easier they are.
You never. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking here, and I'm trying to think if they're the people. Have you ever heard of a Prandtl D-Wing?
Yes.
Have you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
have
built
you
one of
tried
those
to
as well.
fly one of those?
Yeah. I built one of those as well. And I must get around to flying it again. I've got one that I've only flown. Well, I flew it once, and I get again. There's a video on my channel of it flying. And now
I think that
was
that might have
arranging.
been how I got how I kind of found your channel. I'm a Prennett wing nut.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, the problem I had with
Yeah,
that
he is.
was I, I put some cheap servos in it, and because the wing is so thin, I was really struggling to find servos that would actually fit in the thinness of the wing.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up stripping the servos when I was flying it.
Yep.
And I replaced the servos, but again, replaced them with some thin, cheap servos. And the second time I flew it, I ended up stripping the servos again. So it's
Yeah.
just, yeah,
I'm assuming you're
generally,
using 5 gram servos.
yeah.
I've
But
had a
every,
hard time finding reliable
yeah,
5 grams.
yeah. Because pretty much every model in my shed, I don't like having broken models and models that are not ready to fly. So
Mm-hmm.
pretty much every one of my models in my garage, I can just take out now and go and fly. But my Prandtl wing, yeah, is one of those ones that I need to get around to. Do need to get around to mending, actually.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you?
I built one out of foam board that's
How did that
60
fly?
inches.
How
How did it fly?
How did it go? Yeah.
It flew exactly as I expected. It was surprising. I was like, this. So it flew just like the original model. It needs like, you know, almost full throttle to kind of get going, and once it gets going, it flies exactly like you'd expect. You know, it has the proverse yaw. It flies. It's a little limited on its elevator authority.
Yeah. Yes.
But I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of the nature of having just a really tiny piece out at the wings, and it's being so close to the CG that's kind of inherent in the design. Um, but no, it surprisingly flew exactly like I was kind of hoping it would. I ended up actually having to reinforce it because it started to pull a high G maneuver, and it kind of folded into a V shape and sort of fluttered to the ground. It's like, okay. So then I ended up kind of reinforcing and rebuilding it a little bit. And then since then I've had a problem except launching it. I think last time I was we were at a flight festival, the wind was at our backs, and I was, you know, trying to launch it, and I couldn't quite get enough starting speed to get it into the air. But I knew, like, once I get it into the air, it'll be fine. And I was
Yeah.
trying not to destroy the model in the process of trying to get it in the air, you know, because it kept like kind of going and doinking into the ground, or it'd be pretty close and it'd almost be there. And you know, the CG is so the
Crystal.
window
Yeah.
for the CG is so tight. It's just once you get it nailed, though, it flies great.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it's like watching a bird fly, and you're like, that's me. I'm flying that, and it's so graceful.
Yes. Yeah. I found that you almost had to let it fly itself, though, didn't you? As soon as you start trying to control it too much, then it becomes uncontrollable. But as long as you let the model kind of do its own thing and just put small little movements in it,
just the little movements will get it to yaw around and do exactly. When you started to do aggressive stuff, that didn't work so much because you weren't letting the proverse yaw take effect. You weren't creating the wing foil that gave it positive thrust on that wing. You were overdoing it. So
because one idea thinking about doing for a long time and just never quite got around to doing yet is just building a conventional glider, but controlling it with just drag rudders. So having drag rudders actually out on the wings and just seeing how just
kind
like,
of like split rudder,
like on a B2 the Spirit.
Oh
but
yeah.
But like on a conventional aircraft, I think that'd be quite interesting just to see how it performs. But I'm always thinking of these ideas, and then they kind of go to the back of your mind, and you get another project, don't you? And you kind of get focused in on that. It's just trying to find time to do these things. And
so here's a question for you: how do you deal with that problem? Yeah, as a person, because you know you've done 500 projects, you've got so many ideas and so many things you want to do. You know, like, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. But I'm quite, I don't know what's the right word, quite spontaneous and impetuous. I mean, I've no idea what my next model is going to be at the moment, but all of a sudden something will pop into my head and I think, right, yeah, and I want to do it. And I just can't stop until I've done it. But I think a lot of the models that I choose to build, if it wasn't for my YouTube channel, I probably wouldn't build them. Because I do sometimes now do some quite, like that X-Wing one that I built, and some
Yeah, that's a striking model.
Yeah, I'm not chasing the views as such, but you kind of think, oh, this might interest people. And I do kind of build models that I think might interest other people almost more than models that I want to build myself.
Well, as to an extent, as a, I don't want to say media provider, but as a content provider, like, sure, you don't want to be, I'm chasing the views, or in our case, we're chasing the listens, but it's also, we got to do stuff that's not boring to who's tuning in, because then they don't tune in anymore. Like,
if we keep talking about the same thing, it's a limited audience.
Absolutely. But I with my YouTube channel, I'm very much of the, well, I wouldn't do it if it became mature. I only do it because I love doing it. And so I love flying the models, and I get enjoyment out of building the models, but I also get enjoyment out of flying the models. And it's great testing a new model and throwing it off the hill for the first time. But then equally so, I enjoy getting back and looking at the footage, and I enjoy editing and making the videos. And then I enjoy, if the videos do well, you kind of enjoy watching the view count go up and other people watching it and commenting on it. That's all good fun as well. But I know a lot of people, and I've got very much my own style where I just go and fly and then I put music to it. And that's very much what I do, kind of thing. And I think a lot of people would want me to maybe talk about the videos or do build logs and all that kind of thing. And I'm sure I would get more views if I did it. But the reason why I don't is I don't think I'd enjoy it. Because when I am building, I'm very keen to get that model finished and flying. And for me to actually sit down and make a video about me building it, I think I'd find that, just too time consuming and too boring. And that's why I don't do it. And I'd sooner just enjoy my time flying and making the videos, because that's what I enjoy doing, as opposed to ultimately, chasing every view I can. And
that's not why you have the YouTube channel. At least I'm assuming it's kind of like me. It's not why I started. I did that just so that I'd have, maybe proof of flight, or you want to share it with other people like people are also interested, like, because you've been talking to them on, some forum or another, or it's a buddy who's flying the same thing somewhere else. It's like, okay, check out what how that's worked out. Very cool. That's a good question too, Joe, because that's, how do you balance all that?
Well, I'm totally not asking it from an outside perspective of judgment on a buddy of mine.
Wait.
Sorry.
That's okay. How do I help my friend over here who's got a problem and he's not willing to admit it?
Builders Anonymous.
Oh man, yeah, it's I'm guilty.
Matt has so many projects at like the last stage, or he did the glide test and it needed some adjustment, or he did a maiden flight and it didn't go amazing and it needed some adjustment. And it's just like, I need to adjust this, I need to adjust that, and on this one and on that one. But there's a squirrel over here that I want to chase.
like the Puri. I don't know what you're talking about.
Did you ever put wheels on the Vigan?
The Vigan, no. No, the Vigan is a dead project at this minute.
Bruh, that goes back a year and a half.
I know. I'm surprised you remembered it. I know I did. Well, so okay, I guess how proficiency. How do you can you give our listeners a handful of tips of like if they wanted to get into slope soaring? You've given them an example of some models to go check out. Obviously, they can go to your YouTube channel and look at any one of those models, and they're probably all decent slope soaring models, if not great slope soaring models. At least you make it look like that. What do they need to look for a slope site? What are the characteristics they should be looking for on like the day that they're ready to fly? What should they know ahead of time? That kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite hard showing slopes and things like that, but obviously the steeper the slope, the more lift it's going to generate.
Okay.
And the stronger the wind, the more lift it's going to generate. Mm-hmm. But the trouble you get, if you've got a vertical cliff with a flat top to it, the wind is going to hit the cliff and it's going to be going vertically.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a really strong updraft at that point, but then you get a really nasty rotor on the back of the cliff, so you get really turbulent air coming off the cliff, off the back of the cliff. So you
Which
can
is awful for getting started, right? Because you're going to be on the top of that turbulent air is where you try
exactly
to start, and it's going to be impossible to get going.
Yes. So
Okay, go ahead.
what you want to be, I mean, I suppose the perfect, if you were looking for the perfect slope soaring site, you would have a slope that is either by the sea, so you've got lovely clean air coming off the sea, or you want to be inland with no obstructions in front of you, so you don't want any trees or any other hills in front of you, so that the air is nice and smooth and clean. And you want it to generally slope up to a steep as you can get it, but then rolls off on the top. So if it's got a nice rolling top to where you're standing, where you're actually standing, you're not getting a massive amount of lift. But the further out you fly, the more the lift gets, and it gets nice, smooth, gentle lift. And you also want the wind to be directly onto the slope, so not.
Okay.
So the more direct onto the slope that you're looking out onto, the better the lift. Because generally, if it's off the slope by 45 degrees, sometimes the wind won't come up and over the slope. It doesn't get forced up over the hill. It would tend to.
Okay. It would come around it. Yeah.
Around the edge. Yeah. But yeah, so if you've got a nice rolling top, you can then actually fly behind you, and the lift slow off, and the plane's not going to suddenly hit a rotor or some rough air, and you can just land it nice and gentle. So you need quite a big landing site. I suppose you need no obstructions in front of you. You don't need a massive height of slope. I've slope soared just off a 6 foot high stone wall before, and you're just kind of going up and down the wall, just getting the lift off the wall. But again, it was nice with no obstructions in the front of you and all that kind of thing. But here in the UK, we've got a website called Slope Hunter. So it's just like an interactive map, and you can just see where you are, and it's got all the slope sites marked on it, and a little bit about what wind direction they're good for, and the good points and the bad points. So you may have something similar in the States. I don't know. It's
I don't know if we have any in the. I see it, and it's awesome. There's a bunch of pins all over.
And then you
the southern half of England. That's great, and other places too.
I've got my own little list as well. So every time I visit somewhere different and I fly a model and I think, this is really good for this direction wind, I'll then write that down. So I've got my whole list of flying sites that are not too far away from me, because it's like I say, it's sometimes I just fly off like rocky outcrops or things like that inland. So but again, you can only fly with those kind of robust models unless you're going to catch them in.
Yeah. Okay, so it sounds to me like you're saying by having that kind of site, you have a pretty steady, predictable gradient of lift. So you can kind of find the spot that's a good starting lift spot, and then you're not going to have an abrupt change. And you can kind of find that spot that works well for the model you've got. You kind of fly back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and is that basically the kind of the what do you want to call it? The icon of slope soaring is that you're basically moving up and down the slope in that same
the
lift gradient.
So you're keeping, generally, if you were learning to fly, you would launch the model from the top of the hill out onto the front of the slope, and then you would always be turning away from the hill. So you would be. I know it's not what I do on my videos because I'm flying close in, low to the ground and doing circuits and all kinds of things. But if you're learning, you'd just be doing what I call like the windscreen wiper. So the S is along the slope. So you would come along the slope and then turn away from the hill, and then you come back round and fly down the other way and then turn out. So you're doing a left-hand turn, then down the slope, and then doing a right-hand turn. And that's just getting.
And then you come from near the slope, like where you're standing, to out beyond the slope where there's higher lift. And then you S back towards the slope, and then come and then do that same process back out. Into the...
So you've always got the tail of the model towards you, I guess. So you're always keeping, because the thing is, because you're always flying into the wind, if you try and do a complete circuit. So if you fly out and turn right, and then keep turning right, So the model's heading towards the cliff, if that makes sense. So you're trying to do a complete circle. When the model's coming downwind, it's coming back towards the hill really fast because you've got the flying speed plus the airspeed. So it catches a lot of people out that when they're learning. It's always best to turn away from the hill when you're new.
Well, that's important. So how do you determine that you've got the right conditions? Like, how do you know what's the right amount of wind or too much? Because I imagine too much is almost as much, if not more, of a problem than too little.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't got enough wind, you'll generally launch the model off, and you just won't get enough lift. So as long as you've got somewhere that you can land below you, or at the bottom of the hill, you're absolutely fine.
Okay.
But if you've got a model that's too lightly loaded for the wind conditions, and you try and launch it into too strong a wind, it's just going to end up behind you. And 9 times out of 10 it's going to be broken. So, but a lot of it comes from experience. So it's a lot of the time, because a lot of people will ballast their models up. So if they got a lightweight model and it's not penetrating the wind, they will add lead weight over the center of gravity just to get fly forward a bit more. Generally, I don't do that because I can just walk back home and pick up a faster, heavier model. Sometimes I'll walk up the hill and I'll think, oh, it's windier than I thought up here, and I'll just go back and get another model. But that all just comes from experience, I guess. It's knowing what kind of models will fly in what kind of conditions.
Yeah, and I appreciate you giving us some of those tips for the guys who are just going to start. Because I know Joe and I have just built a couple gliders. Like I've built the same one he's got, and I've enjoyed that thoroughly. I'm almost done with my Leprechaun, the one I'm calling the Clerican, which is the drunken cousin of the Leprechaun. Anyway, so I'm eager to try that and see how that goes. But at some point, I want to take it out to a slope. I want to see, and kind of see how that goes. Because the closest I've come to that is we had a thunderstorm coming, and that front was just blowing really hard. And so I'm like, well, I'm not going to get in. And I was flying the Soaring craft that Joe has. And I realized, I'm like, I can't get any headway. I'm like, I know what I'll do. I'll do it like it's a slope soaring. And I started cutting 45 degrees, and I would just literally go back and forth in front of me. I was like, oh, this is what it's like.
Yeah, because one of the joys of slope soaring is it's quiet and it's silent, but you can also fly all day. If the wind's blowing, you don't need to worry about charging batteries for motors and things like that. But also, when you're flying from a flat field, you're always looking up at the sky. Whereas if you imagine where I fly from, sometimes I'm flying down below me and and I've got the confidence that the wind's going to keep blowing and I can get the model back up the hill. And there's just something nice about not craning your neck up into the sky and just being able to fly at eye level all the time. It's great.
Yeah, we have buddies who call themselves the lawn chair pilots, and I'm assuming that they've got a good method to handle that whole neck crinking thing. You just kind of lay down on a lawn chair.
Yeah.
Let's see. The question I had is, and this is probably a good time because you mentioned you go down below you. How many have you lost over the edge where you're just like, oh, darn. I guess I didn't come back. or do you, because where you have, it seems like off to the right, let's say you're looking due north or something like that. Off to the right is this beach, which is probably about 50 feet down below you or 100 feet below you. Like technically, if you lose it below the cliff, you can probably bring it out and around out and land on the beach if you've got control of it still.
You can, but it's a long way to walk. It's probably, although it looks close in the video, it's probably about a good mile to get down to that beach.
Okay.
Foot.
I believe that.
But you would generally I'd land it down below on the cliff because you can go and retrieve it quite quickly. But I mean, your question, how have I lost any? Yeah. I've never lost any on that slope yet. When we were growing up as kids, I have put one in the water before when I've lost it. Not at that site, flying somewhere else. But a friend of mine has landed his airplane on that beach, or one of my airplanes, funnily enough. I let him have a fly. It's hard to describe, but if you imagine you're looking out over the beach on that northern slope, where there's another slope around the other side, which faces west.
Yeah.
They're flying off the western face slope, and he flew too far down the slope and round the corner. So it was completely out of sight from where we were stood. So we put the transmitter down on the ground, and what we didn't know is that the plane was still flying. So it was actually going downwind towards the beach. So there were some people out walking, and they said, "Oh, we've just seen we didn't believe it because they said, "Oh, it's flown off down the beach," and it didn't quite make the beach. It actually just landed in the sea, just probably 50 foot shy, and then just came in on the breaking waves. So it's
oh wow,
yeah. So, but the model was fine. It's amazingly because it was one of those EPP combat wings.
okay,
So yeah, the model survived, but obviously the servos and everything were done for. So it got some new servos and a recover, and it's still flying.
Now, is that the one that you were talking about? We were talking earlier about it. What is that called? Because I had it.
Oh,
right in front of me.
the wild thing.
Yeah, the wild thing that just got all the glittery cover. It's a red and white.
Yeah,
it looks like a Mylar glitter paper.
It is, yes, yeah, that's all it is. So it's just I think it's actually meant for covering like school books. So when you go to infant school and you get your new books and you cover the cover the outside of them in this glittery foam, in the glittery Mylar film. So it's literally just a sticky backed plastic that you get from down the stationery store, but it's very cheap. I mean, it's just like 50p for a roll of it, and so there's probably like probably about £2. So $1 worth of covering for that.
Right. Yeah, that's what it looks like. I mean, you buy a couple bucks worth and you're good. That it's just one of those ones that's striking. You're kind of like, oh wow, that's and was that fun to fly? Like what I've heard is, especially with the gliders, because they can get so far out and turn into such a tiny dot. The recommendation I got from a veteran gliding flyer, was that you put a glitter tape or like a Mylar or something reflective on the on the leading edge of your plane on both sides, because that way you can tell if it's coming to you or away, because it'll flash. And I was wondering if at the time I was like, oh, is he doing it because of that, or is it just because it's something different and new and you wanted to try the material, or do you find that you even need that? I imagine not.
No, generally not so much, but I think again, because of the type of flying I'm doing, I'm never really flying that far away from me, and I'm always flying them in close, and that kind of flying that I enjoy doing. And I think even if I wasn't being filmed, I'd still fly it in fairly close, because the thing is, I'm not short of lift, so it's not like I'm trying to find thermals and trying to fly up into a tiny little dot. But funnily enough, I do cover a lot of planes in that transparent film, in that transparent covering, which does show up amazingly well, because when the sun shines through it, it's almost like having a fluorescent light, because the whole thing kind of lights up in the sun, if that makes sense. And it's, although you'd imagine a transparent film would be harder to see, it's actually, I find it a lot easier to see and orientate the aircraft than a solid film would be on the same airplane, just because the sun shines through it and it lights the whole airplane up.
It ends up actually lighting the entire film. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's because I've always wondered. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like it's gonna. I don't want it to be harder to see. I want it to be easier. You know? And that's kind of why I always select a non-transparent film. But I never even thought about that. A lot of people say that you can spray paint your film if you want. Have you tried that, or do you? I've noticed one of your models you spray painted. It looks like you spray painted the frame and then covered it in transparent.
Ah, yes, that was on the Ocean Breeze. So that was. Yeah, it's the only time I tried it. Oh no, I tried it on a couple of models now, actually. Okay. One I did it in that completely clear laminating film with quite good effect. But
did you like that a lot, or is it something you want to go back to, or is it something you're like, well, that was neat?
Yeah, it's just again, you want to try different things, and I had just some old cans of car body spray, and they only had tiny bits in, so I just ended up dusting over it with a car body spray, but. I think with that, I was and I don't know how much weight it added, but I was very conscious of the fact of, putting layers of paint on a very lightweight model, you can end up adding a bit of weight.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how much weight you can add with some spray paint.
Yeah, especially when it's soaking into the balsa wood. But I'm always trying to come up, with different colour schemes and that. But it is very hard when you've got a limited number of kind of colours that you can buy commercially and what have you. But I'm like I think I was saying earlier, I'm very lucky that I've got a vinyl cutter, so I can cut my own kind of vinyls and stickers and things like that just to jazz the planes up a little bit. Always helps as well.
Yeah. You notice that you mentioned that you've had a couple guys that came with you that either brought the same kind of plane or whatever. Have you done any slope combat? Because I know that's a thing.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
What can you tell us about that, and then tell us your
Yeah.
thoughts on it?
It's amazing fun, but it's harder than you think to actually deliberately hit someone out of the sky.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, I was going to say it's.
But it's only when you're thinking there's no way this is going to hit that guy is when that happens.
Yeah, because we do a lot of formation flying with the lightweight stuff, and as long as you're always flying in the same, because they'd obviously destroy each other if they hit. But as long as you're always flying in the same direction as one another and trying to deliberately formation fly, where if you do touch, it generally doesn't, because you're not coming head on to each other.
Yeah, but, your relative speeds are low.
Yeah. But yeah, I was going to say the combat stuff is really good fun, especially when there's the more models you can get up in the air, the more fun it is. But it is surprisingly difficult.
Have you ever seen the flight test stuff?
Knock someone out. Video somewhere on my channel of probably about. Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
I'm sorry, I thought there was a break in the audio, and I thought you.
The flight stuff boys have done really well, haven't they? And because they had a massive combat session, didn't they? Once
they have it every Flight Fest. So Joe and I took a trip out to that festival, and they have every 2 or 3 hours. They basically get hundreds of people to throw their planes in the air, and that is an experience.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah,
it's really neat. And with all those people flying around, you'd think that there'd be a lot more collisions than there aren't. They're just. I mean, they happen, but it's a lot harder to do than you think.
Yeah, it's just judging that distance, isn't it?
Yeah. There's nothing. There's no reference point in the sky to tell you how far you're out, except unless you have a lot of experience, like having a line that you're flying or something. You go, okay, that's what it looks like when it's X amount of feet out, and this is what it looks like when it's even further, or whatever. It's tough to do. Have you done any FPV flying? First person view where you have like a little camera and you got goggles?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So I've tried it once, power flying. This is when I lived in Hamble on the boat and we were flying off the airfield, and really enjoyed it. But I think with slope soaring, it's almost impossible to do, because a friend of mine brought his FPV kit down and we put it on one of the gliders.
Right.
But if you imagine you're flying away from the slope, so all you can see in the FPV is sky and sea, and you've got no other real reference point. So you can't tell how high you are. And unlike a powered aircraft where you can just, it's flying. And if you put the nose up, you will still carry on flying to some extent, won't you, unless you completely stall it. With a glider, again, you've got no idea of how much. So you've got no idea of how far away from the slope you are. And you've got no idea of how fast you're flying. So you don't know whether you're about to stall or anything like that.
Oh wow!
So I found it almost impossible slope soaring.
You need a flight controller with some readout information on the goggles, so you can tell if you're moving forward, or even like having a string on the nose, so you can tell if the wind's shifting. Because I never thought. I imagine you have just like a little strip of land over in the one corner of the goggle.
Yes,
for the reference.
Yeah. So I have tried it, but it's incredibly difficult with a glider.
Have you ever tried it with going out to a traditional field where it's pretty flat land with maybe a couple obstacles or trees to fly around or through, and consider doing something like that?
Yeah, no, that'd be great fun. But I think where I don't know much about FPV. I wouldn't because when I tried it slope soaring, it was a friend that brought all his kit down.
Sure,
I just put it onto the glider. It's not something I would really know how to start on, but I'm sure there's plenty of forums that would help out there.
Of course.
Yeah.
What I found is that the kit is pretty expensive. Once you get it, though, you get to have a little bit a different kind of fun. It kind of expands the hobby a little bit. And I think it's the reason why it's probably with the quadcopters, you can't see them after about 50 feet out, because they're small, relatively speaking. Having the camera is critical. So, but as they can move any direction, that's when you get the acrobatic stuff where they're going through all these abandoned buildings, all that stuff, and it's a far more interesting experience, I think, than traditional, if you have one on a plane. But it is still fun, on a plane. I've done that where I can really do some great touch and goes or low passes, and I know, where I'm at. You know what I mean? I can kind of get a sense as to where I'm at laterally in the field, as well as
Yes.
how tall. Although there are some times where you're like, wait a second, that's land coming. Oh gosh.
Yeah. I guess with the gliders, you'd need because some of them have got the head tracking, haven't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
or even if it's just you have an extra channel that you have a servo that even if it just rotates left and right, so you can kind of look off to the one side or the other.
Yeah, because I think that's really what you would need to do, just to, like I say, because when you can just see sea and sky, you've got you need to look off to the side to actually kind of get a reference point. So.
Yeah, you definitely need to do that. I imagine if you attach it maybe to the rudder, so when you kind of rudder to the one side, you can kind of get the impression. But I don't know. That's an interesting, conundrum. I guess I didn't expect. I imagine it'd just be like, oh, it's fun because you can get to relax and just glide around. It's like, no, you have no reference points. And that is one of the hardest parts. I've set up my camera on one of my gliders just in a traditional field where I couldn't really see the land. Like there was nose in the way and I had no reference. And it was just sky. Yeah. And unless I dipped down, I had no idea what way. I was like, okay, mental note, put the camera a little bit further back or a little bit higher and then point it down just a couple degrees so that it's like 2/3 land and 1/3 sky.
Yeah.
And that way, when you're climbing, you can still see some reference point. Anyway, so let's see. Have we missed anything so far?
I don't think so. No.
I know something we have missed, though.
What's that?
Because we talked about, his slope soaring's like out by the ocean and all, but have you ever done, and maybe you did cover this map, but have you ever done the high speed slope soaring, the one where you
the dynamic
and loop and yeah,
no.
Is that a style preference, or is there a bit of a pucker factor involved with that?
I'd love to give it a go. I mean, the reason why I haven't is twofold really. One, there's nowhere locally that I know where you can actually do it, because you actually need to fly off the backside of the hill. So you need quite a steep slope that then breaks away like that. So you get the turbulent air over the back to be able to do it. And to be honest, I don't know anywhere within
the United Kingdom.
I mean, there are places that they do them in Wales, but it's probably a 7-8 hour drive for me.
Yeah, that's a long way.
And I haven't got the models that would do it because they're obviously very expensive. Carbon fiber, fully molded kind of gliders that cost £1,000 minimum. So it'd be a big investment.
Yeah, because they're pulling somewhere around 50 Gs or something like that.
Yeah, it's crazy what they're doing. They're kind of almost approaching the sound barrier, aren't they? You get some crazy speeds, but
they are. I think I was looking at it that they had to come up with a new measuring technique because GPS doesn't work. It's going too fast, and a speed gun definitely doesn't work. Because speed gun only goes up to 200 miles an hour, and they're somewhere around 500 mile an hour range. How do we get this measured? They had to come up with some totally new method, and like a laser isn't going to work because the thing's moving so fast.
Yeah,
you can't possibly get an accurate reading.
But never say never. It's certainly something I'd love to give a go one day. But,
so if you're one of those guys who does dynamic soaring and you want John Woodfield to come out and check that stuff out, he's interested.
Yeah, for
sure. Awesome. Let's see. I'm just trying to think if I want to make sure that we caught everything, but I think we did. I mean, I really appreciate you going through some of the beginner stuff with us.
You guys.
Do you use any spoilers or anything like that? Because I know on the big gliders they usually have spoilers and flaps and all that stuff. Or do you find that you don't need any of that?
No. Again, and I think it's kind of twofold. Again, one, it's just I really like having spoilers, and that just makes the model so much heavier and more complicated.
Okay.
And
so
you don't
keeping it lightweight is king.
Yeah, and you don't really need it where I fly, because once you get over the back of the slope, the lift drops off so much that you can just kind of just plonk it down and land it exactly where you want. But I think obviously why they have them is when you're flying on a flat field and you've maybe got a small area to land in and you need to get it down and there's perhaps trees around the field, you need to be able to kill that lift, don't you? And that's why people fly with them on flat fields, I think, a lot more than on slopes. But Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. We haven't gotten that detailed yet. Like we just got some soars up there where we can cut the throttle and be up there for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just always curious. Is that your models look a little bit simpler, and is there a reason why? So I appreciate you covering that.
But there are some great spoilers out there, and I have actually got quite a few in my workbox. So I just never put them in anything, but because you can get the serverless ones now that they just plug straight into your receiver. And you just have it on a channel, and you don't even need to put a servo in. It just goes up and down on its own.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Joe, do you have any questions that we need to ask John?
No, you've done a really good job of covering all the bases. I've chimed in a couple times. I had a question that I didn't think I'd asked, but it's been fantastic talking with you, man. Like,
oh, thank you.
Like, it's a completely different part of the hobby than I spend any time in. I know Matt enjoys doing it, but it's also like gliding in general. So slope soaring is just not something we've got ready access to. Though Matt and I may have to make a beach day.
Oh no, we have to go to the beach. Shucks.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah, we're on the East Coast in the Carolinas, so anytime we just travel a couple hours out, and there's a whole line of dunes that we can fly off of.
Well, if ever you guys are in the come this way, you're more than welcome to fly any of my gliders. I always if anyone's walking by, I always say, do you want to fly? And I'm not precious with my models at all. So it's I'll let anybody fly anything. So yeah.
Okay. Well, before you say that to me, make sure to watch some of the. I'm just kidding. some of the videos you may reconsider. I'm just kidding. That'd be fun if we ever get out there. Absolutely, I'll look you up, see if we can get together.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have any do you have a bunch of people nearby where you're flying that do walk by? How often are you saying, "Here, fly my glider if you want to"? And how many people take you up on it?
Yeah. So it's amazing. I was going to say, I suppose some of those gliders are because they can fly hands off, and as long as you fly them up and a bit higher, you can handle them controls. So I wouldn't say it's every time I go flying, but probably every other time I go flying, I let someone have a go.
Wow.
And if they got kids and stuff like that, I always I'll always land it and let the kid, let them have a little throw of it.
Okay. Nice. Yeah.
It's just good to get people involved, isn't it? It's
yeah. So that path that kind of goes along the cliff line, that's pretty active.
Yeah, I mean, there's the main path, which is the southwest coast path. So there's a footpath. I think it's like 600 miles long that goes all the way around the southwest corner of England. So it goes all the way around Cornwall and Devon.
I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah,
but I did see it. There's like one near the top, and then there's like a smaller footpath down further.
Yeah, so further down. So the one down the bottom is actually the main south.
Okay.
Path, like the long distance, with a lot of people that hop 600 miles are walking along the bottom bit of the path, so you don't generally get as many people up where I'm flying, but you still get people. Yeah, you still do get people walking by.
Nice. Yeah, it's as opposed to where Joe and I fly, which is in the middle of nobody or nowhere.
Yeah.
But
people are always fascinated by the gliders. So I think that's the thing, because they're quiet and they don't make any noise, and people just
stop.
People ask how, quite often people think they're kites flying or things like that, and ask where the string is, and
like, don't. There's none. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It does seem like, I don't know, like outside looking in, it would seem like magic. Just hovering out there and no motor, no energy being input into the system that one would, that's not familiar with it, would see. So I just, like, there's a certain wonder about it. So,
well, if somebody wants to build your kit, right? Because are you producing kits, or is it just like a plan release?
No, that's just a plan. Yeah, so the only plan I've got is of that Ocean Breeze, but it's uploaded to a website. So it's called Outer Zone. So
okay.
If you can find that, there's
that's easy enough.
If you type in Outer Zone plans, and it's a great resource of plans. I don't know if you've been on that website before, but it's they got thousands and thousands of plans.
Yeah, it's incredible. The ocean, I was going to say the outer zone and Arrowfred are usually where, we kind of, when we oftentimes will cover history segment. And if it's, let's say, the F-117 or something like that, right? We'll also link to, here's a balsa kit, like here's a balsa plan, and here's a foam board plan. Like if you want to build one of these models, like go do it. Like that's part of why we talk about it, is when you build a model of especially a scale one or a historical model or something like that, like it's even cooler when you know all the history behind it, right? As you're putting it together. Sure. So those are great resources to be able to say, like, look, you can go build one on your own, and it doesn't cost you any money. Just go get the plans. And good luck. I see they're really clean, clear plans. Well done. We'll put a link in our description here. So anybody who wants to build one can build one. It looks like it's it's very similar to the Leprechaun in the sense of the fuse style is similar. It's really cool. It's great look.
But thank you. But just a bit more of a manageable size. It's a bit a bit smaller than the Leprechaun, so
by like 2 feet. The wingspan is 88 inches, but I'm sure you can even scale it down with a little bit of effort and have whatever size you need. I'm gonna make a foam board version of. I have mine almost ready for the Leprechaun, or the thing I'm calling the Clerican. And that's, if you want a similar experience, you can probably take that and scale that down, and have. Just kind of have fun with it. So we'll have a link to that. Is there any, and your YouTube channel, is there any other places we should send our listeners if they're curious and want to know more about you?
No, that's all I'm on, really. YouTube, I'm not really that technologically advanced, so it's just the YouTube. So but thank you so much, guys, and it's been brilliant. Really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate your time. Hey, and by the way, thank Carolyn for putting together the amazing footage that she does.
Well, she never did come up, did she? But
no, but that's okay. I figured she has other things to do. Good.
Okay. Well, John, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
And I think we've pretty much covered what we were looking to set out and cover today, because we're only a couple days after our last episode sitting down and recording, so we don't have a whole lot else on that front to discuss. But next time when we sit down, it'll be a number of weeks from now, because this will go out pretty much 2 weeks from today. And then go ahead.
Do you want to talk about the dates for the build parties? So as you can see, John is in our Discord forum here. You can see that the video channel above where we're talking, there's a build party going on. You got a handful of listeners who are chatting and talking about all sorts of stuff. That's kind of what we promote here. As we started during COVID, we're like, I don't know about you, but I like talking to people and whatever as I'm building. And I miss, at the time we were missing getting together with the people at the field or clubs. And so we wanted to kind of have a way for people to get together and talk hobby, talk shop. Because I think our significant others were getting annoyed with us talking about this stuff all the time. So it's a great way for us to do that. So Joe, do you have those dates?
Yeah. So, and John, if you're ever happen to be available and feel like sitting in, you're absolutely welcome to. Now all times are in Eastern time. So I think we're Eastern Standard right now.
We're Eastern Daylight Time at this minute.
We are Eastern
but
Daylight.
We are, I think in about a month we'll be Eastern Standard. And you were saying, John, that we goofed up the time by about an hour because you're on summertime still, yes?
Yes, yeah. So I think that changes end of the month as well. So that's an hour back, I think, whichever way it goes.
Yeah.
So I think during the website rebuild or redesign, which there's actually been some progress made. It's not, huge. It's not like groundbreaking, but for Matthew and I, it was trying to figure some stuff out. And I'll see if I can incorporate a calendar that when folks go to the website and look for build party dates, that it shows in their time zone.
Yep. That would be awesome.
We'll see. Anyway, so upcoming build nights we have planned October 22nd. This will be a Saturday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern. That'll be you, Matthew. I'm going to be out of town that weekend. November 4th is a Friday, 8 to 11 p.m. We should both be there. December 2nd is also a Friday, 8 to 11 p.m. That should be both of us. And then we're looking at December 31st. Hopefully building in the new year. Run it up until the ball drops Eastern time. Otherwise, we'd have 24 hours of build party as the new year rang in, I suppose.
I'm not ready for that kind of commitment.
Yeah, sorry guys.
While I'm ready for that kind of building, I'm not ready for that kind of commitment.
Not saying that we don't have folks around the world here who could, bring it all in throughout the 24 hours together, but we just won't be able to be here for it all.
Yeah. Well, good. So we'll be busy in the next, at least 1 week and one little bit of time every month. Come out and join us building. We're going to be building whatever is on our plate. Sometimes it's the thing, but then like John was talking about, you just get inspired and say, oh, you know what? For me, it's like, oh, I'm going to build that thing. That's what I'm inspired to do. I'm going to build it right now. So we'll be taking care of that. I hope you can join us out there. Otherwise, Joe, you want to take us out?
Yeah, let's do it. Guys, as always, thank you for tuning in and listening. We hope you enjoyed listening as much as the three of us have enjoyed having this conversation. John, thank you so much for your wealth of knowledge that you've brought.
Thank you.
Appreciate it a great deal.
If you have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, any sort of that kind of thing. My words left me for a second. You can feel free to reach out to us. You can find us at aviationrcnoob@gmail.com. You can reach Matthew at matthew@aviationrcnoob.com, or you can reach me, Joe, at aviationrcnoob.com.
John, where can they reach you if they have a question for you?
Do you want an email address? Would that be good?
Yeah, however you'd like them to contact you.
Yeah. So it's John Woodfield at btinternet.com.
BT as in
yes.
Bravo Tango.
Bravo Tango.
Yep. Okay.
Good.
We'll be sure to include that in the show notes below. Feel free to swing by our Facebook page, which I am actually I got to talk to Matthew a bit about. We've had a page for a while, but due to how Facebook handles stuff, it's just weird. It's always hard for us to know when somebody posted or commented on something. Yeah. I'm in the process now of creating it as a group. So when that fires off, be on the lookout, because we'll kind of we may move Facebook home over to a group where it's easier to be.
And we'll try and take our existing followers and see about inviting all of you over.
Yeah, or if nothing else, we'll just put the shout out in the Facebook page and across the various platforms to say we're moving to this group where hopefully it'll be easier to intercommunicate. That said, a potential thing I'm working on for the website is to have a login feature where folks could log into the website, largely so that they could maybe post their own build guides, which I know Flight Test has the forums for that, but also share community pictures, because a lot of pictures get shared here in Discord that then get buried in the conversations. So it'll just be another place to upload pictures for some permanence, and then have that attributed to, because if people can log in and post it, then it's not them having to send it to us and me having to upload it and that. So just some ideas. I'm not sure if it's going to take off. The website's always been a thing that just sat there. So we're going to see if we can make it a little more part of us. Let's see. Discord. If feel free to join us in Discord. Link will be in the show notes below. And I think discombobulated and fluffed as that was, I think that covers
Yeah.
everything in the outro.
If not,
yeah,
go to any of our older episodes, and we've got a very tight, concise exit, and all that information is still the
just
same.
fast forward right to the end.
Yeah, fast forward right to the end. Last couple minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you for listening.
Matt, if there's nothing else.
No, there's nothing. John, anything from you?
No, thank you very much, guys.
All right, thank you so much, John.
Yes, thank you.
And we will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Edited over the audio track, so we were just able to like come in and like go. So
just go.
All right. Hello, and never mind. Hang on.
That's gonna be a clip. Everything okay, Joe?
Yeah, it's mom.
Cool, old time clatter, cool. You know, all these things. And I'm like, oh, what's that? Boop. And it's the one that looks kind of like a plank, the red and white glittery one, the wild thing, I think is what it's called.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I'm curious as to, you know, and I'll ask you about it. Just kind of what was the covering and why did you choose that, and you know, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I don't know. Because I'm curious. I'm like, you know, I've been looking at different covering methods, especially when you look at like some of the coating costs. I'm spending way more in coating than I am in the structure or even the motors in some cases. Like you know, building the Leprechaun, it's, you know, $60 or $70 worth of covering material.
Oh.
And, you know, I've got $40 in motor and maybe $10 in foam.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I just double the cost of the model.
Yeah. Well, that, the silvery stuff is just a, like a book covering film. So it's just like a really thin, metallic film with a self-adhesive. So you literally just stick on. But it's that's a foam, but it's a foam model, that one, the wild thing. So it's like made out of the EPP foam. So it's pretty. But yeah. But only the reason why that colour is that a friend of mine did actually crash that model into the sea, and washed up on the beach, and was obviously all the radio gear was toast, but managed to put new servos in it, and I just thought, I'll give this covering a try. But
interesting.
But that film, it really plays with the radio signals, so you really need to be careful that you have
because it's metallic.
Because it's metallic, So it's
I didn't even think about that. That's really cool. I was going to say, did you put like a Super 77 on the foam before you tacked it down just to get extra adhesion?
No, because those models are, because it's the EPP foam. It's then covered in that, I don't know what you'd call it over there, but bullet tape. So it's like a
duct tape kind of.
Yeah, but it's got
fiber reinforced tape.
Yeah, reinforced. So it's got the glass fiber reinforcement in it. So it's all covered in that to start with. And then the film just sticks straight on there. But the film adds virtually no weight at all because it's like a really thin silver film. Yeah,
it's like a Mylar is what it feels like.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No worries. All right, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. Round 2.